Friday because
Okay.
but what happened was that somebody, because I also did it all over social, etc.,
Yeah.
and somebody who I know to some extent, and who had seen the ads actually came in at my high ticket offer.
Oh, right on. There you go.
So it was
Sweet.
like there was no conversation. There was no need for a, hey, convenient. She was already,
Yeah.
so that trust had already been built.
Yeah. Cool. I like that. So out of something, which maybe didn't yield what you initially thought, something beautiful blossomed, which is cool too. And now you have an opportunity to be able to over deliver with this individual,
You better believe it. It's giving her some custom. She was not my typical client,
Yeah.
but I know I can help her because the principles pretty much are, consistent except for some minor adjustments. So we're making that minor adjustments, had an onboarding call with her yesterday. She was
Nice.
over the moon at, the possibility. So it's getting her, as you say, with some gamification, with some intention to hang in there, and taking small steps.
I love it. Really good. It might be useful for you as well, just to kind if you haven't done already, just ask her like, what even attracted you? What were your initial apprehensions? What was the one thing that allowed you to commit? Like getting that data and feedback could
Mm.
actually be helpful for your marketing too. So
Yes, I bypassed that because I normally ask that on a call. So maybe I should go back because that's vital intelligence. Yes.
yeah, and it could also be just impromptu. Like, I love that we're working together. One thing I didn't ask, I normally do ask this, but what was the one thing that kind of moved you? And just allow that to organically blossom.
She did write an email to me though about when she wanted to do so. And she did write an email, which is probably why I didn't go into it. And she says, the way I explained it, reiterated the offer, etc. I just caught her attention and she says, oh, okay. Because even though she knew what I did, she didn't know the details of it enough.
That
Uh,
could be helpful in terms of your marketing, really putting like the intricacies of your offer out there in terms of not only the what, but the how, you know?
yeah.
So full transparency, I think, is what we're getting after. Just full
Yeah.
transparency, you know?
Yeah.
So,
That she understood it better. And, she's just said, okay, this is it. As opposed to saying, oh, menopause strategist, you'll get your energy back, you'll get you'll lose some weight. There was a bit more depth to it. So,
yeah,
yes.
I love it. Really good stuff. Well, cheers to that. Enrique, how are you, sir?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. How's your week in with regards to clients, client acquisition, sales calls? What's the update there?
Good, man. Working a lot on right now, perfecting the sales script with your stuff and combining it with the NAPQ that I'm doing with Miner.
Nice.
So it's been good. It's a lot of stuff, right? So it's been a couple of months that I'm inserting into the new way of doing things. So cool. I have a close doing that method, not in a lot of deep sense, but using the psychology, and it has been great. It has allowed me to control the framework of the conversation. I have a better process now, a
Mhm.
better structure. I feel that like, everything improved in that sense. Before I was like spinning all over the place. So that was helpful. And also I'm working with Eli. I signed up for the webinar program, the training
Nice.
program with them. So
Yep.
it's a small group. So we're working on refining my one to many
Yes.
presentations in webinar and whatnot. And it's been awesome. That guy is a beast on one to many.
Can't miss. Can't miss. I was chatting
Yeah.
with him before this actually, texting him, and talking about like the directions for the new year, et cetera, with NLP, and stuff. So yeah, no, you can't miss. One to many. It's just one to one is still very fundamentally irrelevant. It's never gonna go anywhere. People love the connection, but I
Yeah.
think I think in today's world, you need both, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I do is that I'm selling the call, right? So on the one to many, I'm selling the call, and then on the call, I need to do the one to one. So I need.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I was giving this a lot of consideration, and this is what we'll kind of jam on today. And my goal isn't to kind of I guess, one of the focuses that I have with you guys today is to just introduce you to a different way, a counterintuitive way that you've historically been taught, and transparently by me, right? I've taught you guys one way, but I want to introduce you to another way. And, I am slowly starting to see hyper relevance with this way being more universally adopted just based on how we buy in today's marketplace. So let me remove all the anticipation, right? Let me just tell you what it is. And so, we are normally taught that the moment that you get an objection on the call, we are normally taught, well, figure out if it's facts or if it's fear, right? I've taught you guys that a lot, right? That is still relevant. But what thing you've also been taught is that you need to be able to reframe people. You need to give them the different perspective. You need to be able to, objection loop and all this kind of craziness, which is also extremely important. But let's just face it, that comes with time.
Yeah.
That is not something that is going to happen like after you come to one class. That comes with a lot of time, the right word economy, the right scripting, confidence, that kind of thing, identification. So, well, what would be easier if I had a beginner student that had little to no confidence and they were really good at one thing, which was what? Script adherence. And I can just say, well, do this if they say this, do this if they say that. From that, something is born. What's born? Downselling, right? Write that word down, please. Downselling the customer. Example, I'm on a call with Enrique. And I go, okay, excuse me, okay, Enrique, for everything that we talked about, it's just going to be the one-time payment of the $5,000. Enrique goes, yeah, no, listen, I can't afford that. I might go, oh, okay, is that pushing the budget? Enrique goes, yeah, that's just way too expensive for me. Okay, cool. Well, the good news is we do have something else. We do have this case study pricing. And basically, what we'll do is that if you're willing to exchange a testimonial for your results and only when you've achieved your results, then what we'll do is we'll just sponsor 1/3 of the coaching program for you. And what we'll do is we'll still give you the 3 months of the personalized coaching that we talked about. And that brings it down from the 5,000 to just the 2,500. If we did something like that, would that just be more helpful for you? Enrique goes, yeah, I can do 2,500. Now, do you notice how easy it was to get from offer one to offer two and still get a yes? Jim, Enrique, does that make sense, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Yes. So, and now what's the counterintuitive way? Okay. Okay, gotcha. 5,000 too expensive. Yeah. Well, more than anything, I want you to be comfortable. Let me ask you though, price point aside, do you feel like this can actually help you? And you're going through the objection handling framework, which is still very critical and very helpful. But now, instead of trying to fight upstream, I'm just swimming with the current. Can do option one, let's go option two. Can do option two, let's go option three. Now, I want to obviously address the elephant in the room, and that is the fact that based on if you are your own offer owner, this can be done virtually overnight, right? But if you sell for someone else, I also understand that there's probably some nuances, marginal nuances in the business where you have to factor in cost, what you can discount and what you cannot discount. But as a concept, does this make sense, team?
It does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And so just as a concept, I understand that everyone's offer is different. And so let me share with you one of the ways that um, I did this. One of the companies, roofing company, asked me to do some work for their business, and I did it. I did it for them. I did it for a like some custom script writing stuff. And I'll share with you one of the ways that we did this with the downsell. you know and so this will give you some context here, right? And so imagine if I'm on a call, right? And Jim, you and I are role playing, right? I'll go first and I'll have you guys get some reps here. And I go, cool. So Jim, really appreciate this conversation, everything that we've talked about. And so based on where you're at, would it make sense for me, Jim, to kind of talk to you about the program and the price here?
Sure.
Cool, sweet. And obviously, I want to help you out with the pricing to get this done. And so for everything that you need, obviously, your daily, weekly support, your accountability, the nutritional coaching, essentially everything that you'll need from start to finish. Typically, if you weren't a member with us, this would cost you somewhere anywhere around 48, $4,900. Now, of course, that is not what you're going to pay because, of course, you already made the good decision to hop on the initial webinar. And now that you're here, what we can do is we can give you that loyalty credit because you initially hopped on the webinar. So Just because you're obviously hanging with us for that first hour, that'll cut it in half. And so what we're going to do is that'll actually bring the cost down to, instead of the 48.49, that'll actually just bring it down to the one-time payment of yep, it's just the $3,000. Okay. And now the good news on top of this, Jim, is we're going to really hit the ground running. We want you to get quick results. And because of the fact that I know you mentioned that your business is about 3 months behind in cash flow, we do want to start right away. Okay.
Okay.
Jim says, right? Jim says, um, uh, I don't want to chase rabbits. Let me just stay focused here. I want to show you guys a bunch of stuff. But Jim says, yep, that makes sense. I signed Jim up, right? Easy peasy. Don't really need any more context there. But Jim might come and he might say, and Jim, you can feel free to hop in here again. Jim, when you're ready, I want you to read this line.
Aaron, it's just too expensive.
Oh, okay. Is that pushing the budget then for you, Jim?
Yeah, yeah, it's out of my
Oh,
budget.
yeah, 100%. More than anything, man, I want you to be comfortable. Sound familiar? More than anything, I want you to be comfortable, Jim. And well, we do have something else here. We call it a scholarship offer. And basically, what we'll do is we'll kind of sponsor a third of the coaching cost for you. And so the way that that works is that if you are willing to kind of give us a testimonial, a video testimonial or a written testimonial, only of course once you've achieved the XYZ goal. In exchange for that, what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and sponsor one third of the coaching. And of course, you'll still get the 3 months of the personalized coaching there. So if we were able to do that to you for you, would that just make it easier, Jim?
Yeah, it would.
Boom, I signed Jim up. Now, Jim might go, yeah, that's still a lot of money for me, right? So, Jim, let's go back into script, please. When you're ready, I want you to go to the third thing, which is, yeah, I still can't afford that. Just say that.
It's still pushing the budget.
Yeah, I completely understand, man. I mean, obviously, being part of this call, you were looking for some solutions, and I wanted to obviously, give them to you. But I also recognize that right now, if it's just about getting your finances in order, let's do this. Because I know this is something that's important to you, and you're obviously committed to your results. I just want to prove it to you, man. And so, what I'm willing to do is that we're willing to actually just show you 14 days of free coaching. And here's the cool part. By getting 14 days of free coaching on us, this gives me an opportunity to prove it to you, Jim. But it also gives you a little bandwidth to where you can actually save up for this opportunity. And the cool part is it'll actually be at the scholarship rate, not the initial price. And so if we were to obviously just get you in, give you 2 weeks of free coaching, and by the way, in those 2 weeks, historically, a lot of our clients, they turn around and land their first client. And so that way you can potentially use that to pay for your first down to payment or more. Again, would that just make it easier for you to get some long-term results? Jim says, yes. Right. So what are we doing here? Again, we are swimming downstream. We are not trying to reframe, deframe, cross-sell any one of those. There's a lot of nuances in your team because clearly all your offers are vastly different in terms of what you can offer. But I at least want to get the gears turning in your brain of what's possible. This is helpful for you if you are not a strong objection handler. This is helpful for you if you are someone who just wants to be able to raise the confidence without having to overthink. This is helpful for you if from an offer standpoint, you can decrease the offer without decreasing the value of the actual offer. And so this is where I just wanted to get you guys thinking a little bit today. Dio, you're up.
Okay. Here's my question. If you have an offer where, I've been offering it at say 5,000-ish,
Yeah.
and I had, moved down the price a bit to make it more attractive,
Mhm.
which 3,200, 100, for want of a better word. And, you know, I don't really want to go much more than that. It becomes at that point, if you're saying you're offering 1 point, one-to-one coaching, it's personalized, you're doing all this support. Uh, it is just, it feels like, and I don't want to get to a stage where I'm coaching people, I'm feeling like, oh, geez, why am I here? You know what I'm saying?
Kind of. I want to make sure I follow you. I know you said your initial offer is 5K, but the point you're making is like you don't want to keep discounting it. Is that it?
Well, it's already now 3,100. So it's already
Mhm.
got a discount, which is a severe discount and is a floor I decided I really don't want to go below because, that is one-to-one coaching over 8 weeks. It's got a whole lot of, stuff going on with it, preparation, da da da, lessons, action sheets, etc. And I'm saying even at the 3,100, you will always find people who will say, "Oh, I can't afford it," even if you say, "Okay, there are payment plans, etc."
Mhm.
I don't particularly want to go down another 20% or whatever it is, 30%.
Yeah, so that's why I think, and so yeah, so that's why I think like kind of I was trying to regurgitate. This is going to look vastly different for everyone, right? So what those numbers might shake out is something you're going to probably have to sit with. You know what I mean? And figure out, okay, and here's some good questions to ask, and you probably already did. What is my bare bones? Meaning, yeah, as a company, let me ask you, are you your own operator, or do you have anyone else? Do you have anyone else in your team?
Well, in terms of what? In terms of,
In terms of who, in
by
terms of
pay?
if somebody paid you, what you would have to then turn around and pay them.
Not from that point of view. I do have two virtual assistants.
Okay, got, so then you would have to pay them from the profit.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. So then they factor, right? And so you would have to let's just call it, let's say 1,000, right? I'm just making that number up. But let's say somebody pays you 5 grand and you know that out of that 5 grand, you will always pay them 1,000, which means that's $4,000 take home for you. But let's just say that someone couldn't afford the 5 grand. And so the next step would be 3,200. And then out of that 3,200, it's still 1,000, which means that that's 2,200 take home for you. And then you go, okay, well, out of that 2,200 take home, eight over 8 weeks, is that worth my time? That's a question that you're gonna have to figure out in terms of marginal, you know? But it's a good problem to have because now what I'm sharing with you now is it gets you thinking, okay, well, here's the cool part about this. I can just continuously make essentially three offers and see what bites. And no matter what bites, A, I'm getting paid well for my time. B, I can pay my team and still be profitable.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, let me think on it more. And maybe if I can come up with another way for you to look at it too. You know,
Okay.
good
Yeah,
stuff.
thank you.
Hey, welcome. Jim.
Kind of following up on what the doctor was kind of asking.
Hmm?
So I had my second one to many yesterday,
Yeah.
and one of the folks wanted to talk afterwards.
Hmm.
So we stayed on the webinar and we ended up 45 minutes afterwards. She was very, very interested. But no matter how I framed, no, framed or reframed or tried to come up with a way to find a number that would work for her, even though she was clearly interested, clearly wanted to do it, she was repeating the objection, which is I don't have the money and I don't want to do an installment plan. I'm already on too many installment plans. I'm tapped out. There does come a point, I know Eli likes to say, it could close anybody. It might take me 10 years, and then you got to decide whether the juice is worth the squeeze. But at some point, you just got to, because what she wanted ultimately was sign me up for free, and then out of the business proceeds, out of the residual income, the passive income, I'll pay you back,
Yeah, this is like
which I know doesn't work.
yeah, it's
That
like
that
it's a pay for performance play.
Right. So
You know?
at some point, we do have to say, like, if
Yeah,
they can't
I'm
do
listening,
it,
Jim. Yeah, I'm with you, Jim. Give it to me.
yeah, if they can't do it, they can't do it. I'll go. I'll take my 2,500, and if they need to do it in $200 a month installments or $100 a month installments, I'll do that if they've got some skin in the game. But if they have no skin in the game, you just got to say, well, it's just not going to work for them, no matter how much they say they want it, no matter how much. And she's talking about her son and trying to get him started, and she could see this for him, and yet, but if there's no skin in the game, I know they're not gonna do it. I just know because I've
Yeah.
already experienced that with my previous business partner and the previous iteration of the business.
Yeah. I think there's probably some context there to that, but it sounds like that was a lot of non-buyer behavior language that she's giving you because you just toss something out there. You're like, she's talking about her son, how she can get her son going, and et cetera, et
Yep.
cetera. And I think the problem with that is that she kind of held you hostage 45 minutes after the call where you had to explain not only the what, the why, and the how. And then you also, I believe you still price pitch right there on the call. And
I
so she had
did.
yeah, so she had all the information to make a good decision. And so I think her holding you for 45 minutes is a lot of it. Then again, I'm just assuming a bunch of stuff, but a lot of it sounds like it's just rumination, right? She just wanted to self-soothe a little bit, and it's just like talk you through
Maybe
her
so.
problem. And it's
Maybe
like,
so.
but at the end of the day, she's talking about how she wants to do it, but she can't do it. So if you can't do it, let's establish you can't do it,
Uh,
but let's formulate a plan, right? Let's formulate a plan to get you there. And what that plan looks like is like, well, we could take out a loan. We can get your APR credit card. Well, how much cash do you have in hand? In other words, how flexible you can be with her. You know what I mean? And so if she's like turning all those down, then the answer is obvious. Listen, Mary, there's not much more to talk about, you
Not the
know?
right foot. Yeah.
And so I think the better play or the quicker play instead of 45 minutes is like, well, listen, we've gone over all those options. You said you want to do it. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. Not a problem. I get it, but I appreciate you being so convicted. Here's a free thing that I have, right? Take the free thing, go in with it. If you can get a client from it, amazing. And then if you do, go ahead and we can use that monies towards moving up, right? But
What do you
um,
mean? Sorry, Aaron. What do you mean by take the free thing? What does that mean?
yeah, so whether you have a resource or a lead magnet or something that your clients can use that is of value that they will actually see a tangible result, right? Example, for me, let's just say for fitness coaching, I might have a diet, right, plan that I give out, and that guy does the diet plan. That's a free plan. He loses 3 pounds off of it. And so he sees a result, right? For you, for a ROI based offer, which I think, yeah, for you, right? For ROI by software, let's just say you said, "Hey, here's a sales script, right? Here's a generic sales script. He uses it. He got $5,000 from it. Now pay me that $5,000 to start the program, right?
Mm,
So that's what I
mm,
mean by giving out something where she can use it, win with it, and take that money to pay you.
gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because that could be a tricky spot when it comes to, just people who are just there for obviously one reason, and that reason is just to kind of, you know,
to
talk you.
pick your brains and get a freebie information. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
I think that I don't want to go off too off tangent, but like I also think there's an argument, guys. And I'm not saying this is where you guys are, but I think there's an argument like we have to be discerning too between like what we want and what we have. And what do I mean by that? Like there is who the heck was it, man? It was a fitness coach. I used to be in this mastermind and there was a fitness coach that she thought she was like, larger than life, whatever the case was. And the guy running the mentorship was like, "Hey, how much are you bringing in right now?" And she was like, "Oh, I'm doing like $2,000." And by the way, the average student was doing like 15K a month, right? And she was doing like 2K, right? But she had like the biggest ego on her. And what I mean by that is that yeah, she was like, yeah, I don't meet with anyone unless they pay me $100 deposit, before the call. Or she would say things like, she'd have all these weird demands and expectations. I'm like, you got like 3 clients. And I'm like, so I'm reminded of like beggars can't be choosers. And so I think it's helpful to discern between, okay, I have an audience that's interested, right? But I don't want to put too much of a stiff arm away from their access to me now. As your demand starts to build, you can have a bit more harder gatekeeping because you're not being fake scarce. You truly have a clientele list. And so I think in the beginning, you have to be a bit more open to having some of these conversations. So, Jim, I say all that to say, But that what you did with that woman isn't always necessarily a bad thing either, right? And so it just depends on your level of activity, Jim, how busy you are, and your value based on how much you're making determines like, okay, do I want to spend 45 minutes with this woman? If you have zero clients, it might make sense. You don't know who she knows and you don't know her level of commitment. I've had a ton of people who couldn't afford when I used to be a personal trainer in the gym who couldn't afford it. I was just overwhelmingly nice to them, stayed in contact with them in some form or fashion. A year later, they'd pay 6 months in advance, right? So would it have been in my benefit to say, hey, I'm not going to talk to you if you can't pay me? No, because then I would have lost that sale, right? And so I
Yep.
think it just depends. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
well, and we don't know if we do the downsell, which I
Mhm.
like, we don't know at what point they might say, actually, you know what, that could work.
For sure. For
And as
sure.
long as we can make it work, why wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't we? Right. Exactly. Exactly. Because an easy yes for somebody at 5,000 is a hard no for someone. But that same person might say, yeah, I can do 2,500. I can still pay my bills, milk in the fridge,
That's
that
right.
kind of thing.
That's
Right.
right.
But because we're just so hung up on like, well, this $5,000, do you have a mindset problem around that? And they're like, no, just I need it cheaper. Now it might change what they have access to, because
Mhm.
granted you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
it's just all dependent on how you structure your offer. You know what I mean? So really
Mhm.
just looking into it and seeing, okay, maybe, I'm just throwing a bunch of stuff at you guys, but maybe it's like, okay, $5,000, 3 month coaching program. You get the 3 months of one-to-one access, but you can't do the 5,000. Cool. Do the 2,500, but the 2,500, you get 3 months of access, but only 1 month of one-to-one coaching. And the other 2 months is more so like community access, right? And so that way you're protecting your time without devaluing what they get because they're still in the program. They just get less access to you. So again, these are
Mhm.
all things to kind of think through, but you're
Yeah.
still downselling,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Let's run through this here just so you guys can kind of like understand the transcript and stuff like that. I'll have you guys role play here. So Tyler, go ahead. I'll let you go first. You could just and we won't edit it, meaning like just read it as it is.
Okay. Now I'm going to help you out with the pricing to get this done. And so so for everything you need, all your supplements, daily and weekly support, accountability, nutritional coaching, essentially everything you'll need. Start to finish, to do this properly, typically you'd easily be looking around 3 to 400 for a full protocol. That is, of course, not what you'll pay. So because you're a member here with us, and then with your age, you actually can qualify for the fixed income credit. So that's actually going to cut it basically in half. Not only that, but because what we discussed earlier, we can consider this a high priority case. So it's only going to come out to about, let me take a look. Yes, it will be great to be just $210 monthly. And that will, of course, give you everything you need for the full protocol. Okay.
Beautiful. Jim, go ahead. Swap it out. Your turn.
Sorry, where were we?
Yep, you're just gonna read the same thing. So right here.
Okay. So Aaron, now I'm gonna help you out with pricing to get this done. And so for everything you need, all your supplementation, daily weekly support, accountability, nutrition coaching, essentially everything you'll need, start to finish. To do this properly, typically easily you're looking at around 3 to 400 for a full protocol. And that of course is not what you'll pay. So because you're a member here with us and then with your age, you actually can qualify for the fixed income credit. So that's actually going to cut it basically in half. Um, and not only that, but because what we discussed earlier, we can consider this a high priority case. So it's only going to come to about, let me take a look. Yep, great. It'll just be the 210 monthly. And that will, of course, give you everything you need for that full protocol. Okay.
Beautiful. So again, this is where you're making your first offer. But let's go to where the downsell becomes truly the downsell, right? So they go, "Yep, I can't afford it." So Doctayo, you're up first. I'll start, and then you lead right after. Yeah, that's just way too expensive. Oh, one more time on mute there. Sorry. So I'll go again. Yep, that's just too expensive.
Ah, okay. We do have a college scholarship offer. Basically, the company will sponsor one third of the coaching cost for you, and we can combine another big discount of 20%. And that still allows you a 12-month program. So it will be the full 3 months of personalized coaching, and it will include 9 months of committed care. And you already have the Lipo Max. So we obviously don't need to send that out. So that brings it all the way down to just 120. Oh, wow. Yep, just 120 a month to get your health right back on track. If we brought it down, would that make it easier?
Nice. Okay, Jim, you're up. Yeah, that's just way too expensive.
Oh, okay. Well, Aaron, we do have the scholarship offer. And basically, what that is that the company will sponsor one third of the coaching cost for you, and we can combine another big discount of 20%. That still allows you a 12-month program. So it'd be the 3 full months of personalized coaching, and it will also include 9 months of committed care. So, and you already have the LipoMax, so we obviously don't need to send that out. So that brings it all the way down to just 120. Oh, well, yeah, just 120 a month to get your health right and back on track. If we brought it down to 120 a month, would that make it easier?
Beautiful. There is something, there is something simple in selling when it comes to making an offer at the first sign of your buyer saying no to the first one. It doesn't have to be this circus act, and I don't mean that to devalue everything that we've ever talked about, but I mean that in the context of sometimes people just want a level of straightforwardness. Now, the reason why I feel so confident saying that is because all the principles of persuasion that we talked about still apply. In other words, the best form of persuasion is what? Free.
Persuasion.
Right. So getting them to influence themselves earlier in the call is still hyper relevant, right? But for whatever reason, if they feel as if that it's like, yeah, Aaron, it sounds good, man, but that's just too expensive. Oh, okay, it's pushing the budget. Yeah, not a problem, man. I just want you to be comfortable more than anything. The cool part is that we do have something else here. It's called case study pricing. You might find this helpful, where basically we'll just sponsor, boom, move them down, you know? And so if I know I've done the work to make them certain about what we do here, and they know they'll get a result, I'm more likely to get a yes by just discounting it, right?
Yeah.
Than having to kind of like finesse it a little bit. Was this helpful, team?
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just these small little nuances I feel, as I start to understand different sales environments and methodologies and how people are saying, you have to be open to changing your mind.
Mm.
And I'm not saying like, oh my gosh, I fully subscribe to this. What I am saying is that there's no one right way, like life, right? Everything is subjective. And so you have to be able to look at things subjectively and go, oh, you know what? That could work. And it's like that would make sense too, and say, okay, well, for what environment would that make sense? If you're hopping into like a B2B ROI based offer where you're working with an entrepreneur and I'm just my own offer owner, this would make a heck of a lot of sense, right? If you're hopping into like a car dealership, not really, because there are margins that we can't go as low, right? And so it might make a little bit more sense to have a different type of style. But this is just to kind of get your brain tinkering around what could you eat the fish, spit out the bones. What's good about this? What you can apply versus, okay, that doesn't make sense for me. You know. Any questions on this one, guys?
Not questions. I just like the idea of the case-based discount.
Yeah, case study pricing is a good one. I've done that a bunch in my studios where it's just like, hey, you can't afford the thing. Cool. Well, give me a testimonial because I know that testimonial could yield me 2 clients. And so it's like, if you're willing to give me a testimonial, then yep, you know what? I'll be willing to XYZ, you know? The other play that I've done is sharing with them using language, loyalty, upgrade, credits, right? These are good, pleasing words to the brain. And so it's like, yeah, I'd be more than willing to. And if you're willing to do that, what I'd be willing to do is just kind of just give you some loyalty credits. And so I can give you our existing membership credit. And what that is, that's just something that we have here, obviously for our existing members, where if anybody wants to continue just out of good faith and because you've already put your trust in us, we'll actually give you another 10% off. So that might work on the back end of your program, right? If you're trying to upsell someone or whatever the case may be. And so these are all just pleasing words to the brain. Or if somebody bought something on the front end, let's say you had a low ticket thing, and then it's like, oh, and you're on a sales call, and it's like, okay, great. And so, what we can do is we do have something called, our loyalty credit. And all that really means is that because you initially invested in the XYZ, what we can do is we can actually apply those credits and just upgrade you there. Again, all the language applies here, you know.
Mm.
And so it becomes more powerful because now people feel like less haggling, more straightforwardness, and they feel like they're getting a deal too. So which is
I think there's some reciprocity which is baked into us as human beings. So if they feel that you've done something for them,
hmm
more likely to not just finish it, but to actually look forward to finishing it so that they can give you the
yeah.
testimonial in exchange for that discount you gave them.
Yeah, and give more, right? Like it's like you gave me $1, thanks, but now I have to give you two.
Yes.
know? And so reciprocity plays such a heavy hand in here because that's how people are inclined. Um, that's how people are inclined. And so um, I the other day, great example of this, the other day I was late for my personal training. I overslept, right? And so I had to text my trainer. I'm like, Ryan, I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, man. I overslept on this one. And he's like, all right, it's all good, man. Whatever. I still went to the gym, but he was with another client. And so I'm doing my thing, obviously. And, he could have went home. What did he do? He was like, yo, I'm here. Let's go. Right. And he kind of stayed with me for pretty much like the rest of the 30 minutes. It was like an hour. Right. And so I was like, damn, he didn't have to do that, because again, I don't expect anything. I was the one that was late, whatever the case may be. And then, later that day, unbeknownst to him, of course, until he saw it, I ended up selling him our full per session rate. But here's what's crazy. I already paid in advance for the month, right? So even though he already got paid for that session, but I decided to, selling him a single session rate for that. That is reciprocity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. He did for me, and I felt inclined to not only do for him, but go above and beyond, right? For doing that. So reciprocity is undervalued, but super valuable.
And I'll say that is probably what I did as well, because the client I was telling you about, I discounted her below the 3,100, 3,200 I was telling you because you knew her and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when I think of it, she's a lot more excited about the whole thing
Yeah.
and willing to do what it takes,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
100%. Yeah, because now,
She
yeah,
realizes that that's not my full rate, and I have given her a significant enough discount.
right.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah. Um, I think that you know, uh the there's a level of indebtedness people feel, and it's just like debt is a funny thing because like when people feel like they are in, and there's all kinds of debt, right? And I'm not talking like fiscal debt like finance, but like
Yeah.
when people feel like they're morally in debt, they will go to the ends of the
Yeah.
earth to pay that debt off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, anyway. So cool. Good stuff, team. Hopefully this was helpful, gang. Give you some more ideas to think about in your offer. And so, Tayo, excellent stuff. Crushing it with the new client, now over deliver, which I know you are. Jim, great job continuing to host these. What it's fun to hear how you're now doing this, regularly and
Yeah. Yep. It's going to be a once a month
Cool.
event. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're going to start to notice how your level of speaking starts to level up. So one of the things that I did was I'll say this very final thing there. One of the companies that I do the sales training for, they wanted to do webinars, these webinars, and they were kind of testing it out. And I was like, you know what? Let's just test it out 5 times a week, right? And the reason why I did that was because I just wanted the reps.
Mm.
They had the leads, like they had way more than enough leads. They had a crazy amount of leads. And I was like, just give me the reps. And I was speaking on stage 5 times a week.
Wow.
And so the amount of reps and kind of like I was able to collapse time because what would have taken me 2, 3 years to really hone in and develop, I did it in like 6 months, you know? And so for you, Jim, again, I don't know how these people get on the phone call with you, but just try to get a bunch of reps in and get better and better and better and
Yeah.
better, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. All right, y'all. Have a beautiful rest of your weekend. Cheers. Bye
Have a
now.
good weekend. Thank you.